team building doesn't have to suck. In fact, when it's done right, it can transform your workplace culture. Hey everyone, my name is Seth, and I'm a speaker, coach, and consultant. I work with organizations and individuals, helping them grow their personal and professional lives so they can achieve their goals. And I want to ask you a question. You know that sinking feeling you get when your boss announces that it's a mandatory team building day? I mean, we've all been there. Trust falls, awkward icebreakers. It makes all of the drivers in the room roll their eyes because they're like, can we just do the work already? And so today I'm going to be sharing 5 exercises that actually work, and more importantly, why most team buildings fail spectacularly. I want to welcome you back to the channel. Before we dive in, a quick question. What's the worst team building exercise you've ever endured? I want you to drop it in the comments, and I'm going to be sure to read every single one. Now, if you're new here, hit the subscribe button for more content on building better workplaces without the corporate cringe. Why does team building have such a horrible reputation? Well, I think it's because of one of 3 reasons. First of all, a lot of times it just feels performative. If you're struggling as a team building event really may not be the solution. It's not as bad as putting a Band-Aid on a broken arm, but it's like putting a Band-Aid on a sprained arm. It's just not going to work. The second reason is because it really doesn't address workplace dynamics. You can't fix a communication issue with a ropes course when the real problem is the person in accounting doesn't respond to emails, or the person in sales throws everyone under the bus every chance they get. Third is that most team building offsites are just that. They're offsite and it's a one-day event. Building castles in the sand, which I've done, and I've led teams to do that. All of those things are great, but those things really won't address the core issue. So I want to give you some exercises that actually will address some of those fundamental flaws that we've just called out. They're authentic, they tackle real issues, and they create lasting change. So the first exercise is what we call the 2-minute appreciation round. 2-minute appreciation round. This one's deceptively simple, but incredibly powerful. And here's how it works. Once a week, at the end of your team meeting, I want you to spend about 2 minutes or so having members specifically appreciate something a colleague did. Not a generic good job, but something specific. You know, if someone on your team were to say, hey, thank you so much for staying late and helping me fix that problem. It really saved our project. That is what we're talking about. Now, I want to tell you why this works. It costs nothing, it takes minimal time, and it actually rewires your brain to notice positive contributions instead of problems. There are a number of studies that talk about the power of gratitude. One in particular is a study from the University of Pennsylvania that shows that teams who practice regular appreciation have 31% higher productivity and 87% less burnout. That's pretty significant. And so the key here, though, is specificity and regularity. Vague compliments, they feel hollow. Specific recognition feels genuine. And it has to be regular. Make it a part of your weekly meetings. It doesn't have to take long. 2 minutes, 5 minutes max, 7 minutes maybe, depending on how big your team is. By doing it weekly, you make it a part of your team's DNA, not just some special occasion. Now, when you implement this, I want you to start small. Don't force everyone to participate immediately. Let it grow organically. The skeptics will eventually come around when they begin to see that it's not just corporate fluff. All right, so that's number 1. Number 2 is the failure party. And this one might sound counterintuitive, but let's stick with it for a minute. Once a month, I want you to dedicate 30 minutes to celebrating failures. Have team members share something that they tried that didn't work, what they learned, and what they will do differently. And here's why this one is genius. Most workplace dysfunction comes from fear of failure. People hide mistakes, avoid risk, and point fingers when things go wrong. But the failure party flips this completely. It makes failure safe, even valuable. Google did a research project, I think it was called the Aristotle Project. And what they found was that psychological safety, which is the ability to take risks without fear of punishment, was the number 1 factor in high performing teams. The number 1 factor. This exercise builds that safety systematically. Now, there are a few rules for this. Number 1, the leader has to go first. You can't expect someone else to celebrate their failure or to share their failures if the leader hasn't first shared theirs. So if you're the leader watching this, you have to go first. Share your biggest screw up, no blame allowed, only learning, and celebrate the lesson, not the failure. I don't want you all to give each other a pat on the back because you failed. I want you to give yourself a pat on the back because of the lesson that you learned from that failure. And if you want to take it a step further, just imagine if you actually gave out a Nobel Fail Prize. You know, like the Nobel Peace Prize, but Nobel Fail Prize. Okay, this would be a ridiculous trophy for the most instructive failure of the month. So that's how you begin to rewire your team's DNA. They see failure as an opportunity to learn and they celebrate it. All right, number 3, and this is what we call the skill swap. Every team member teaches something they're good at that's not their job. So the accountant might teach bread baking. The developer might teach guitar. The project manager might teach Excel shortcuts. This works on multiple levels. First, it humanizes everyone. The person from IT isn't just the guy who fixes your computer. He's also a master origami artist. Second, it builds empathy. When you struggle to learn something from a colleague, you appreciate their expertise more. And then third, it reveals the hidden talents that actually might be useful for projects. Okay, so here are a couple practical tips. Keep the sessions at 20 minutes. Make them optional and maybe even incentivize, maybe over lunch with food provided. And let people choose what to teach. Forced fun becomes actual fun when people have autonomy. Exercise number 4. This is what we call the reverse mentoring program. Pair a senior team member with a junior team member. But here's the twist. The junior team member is the mentor. They teach the senior person something new, maybe technology, social media trends, fresh perspectives on old problems, or just how younger customers think. This actually destroys the hierarchical barriers like nothing else. It shows that everyone has something valuable to contribute regardless of their title. It also keeps like your senior people current and your younger people engaged. I know Jack Welch from GE did this in the 90s, and it's really relevant. With technology changing and accelerating with AI, reverse mentoring isn't just a nice to have, it's actually essential for your organization's survival. So make it formal but flexible. Set up maybe 30-minute sessions, give pairs who are working together topics to explore, and most importantly, make it clear that the senior person is the student in these sessions. Real learning requires humility, and once again, the senior leader must model it. All right, number 5. This is what we call the cross-functional project sprint. Once a quarter, create small teams mixing people who never usually work together. Give them a real problem to solve, something that affects the whole organization but isn't anyone's specific responsibility. Maybe it's solving the office kitchen situation or streamlining the expense report or planning the company holiday party. This project should be meaningful but not mission critical. You want stakes, but you don't want stress. Give them 2 weeks and a small budget, present solutions to leadership, and actually implement the best ideas. This works because it breaks silos down naturally. People stop being the marketing team and the engineering team, and they actually become the problem solvers working toward a common goal. They build relationships through collaborating and not just artificial exercises. Now, I want to tell you, we gave you 5. Here's why these 5 exercises succeed where others fail. Because they follow 3 critical principles. Number 1, they're integrated into your regular work, not separate events. Team building should be like brushing your teeth. It should be routine, not occasional. Now, that doesn't mean that going away and holding hands and singing Kumbaya and having a ropes course isn't important. No, and I actually have an entire PDF that I put together where I outline the value of an offsite and how to plan them effectively. But if you really want to transform your culture, it's not going to happen in one offsite. It's going to happen because you built it into the routine of your team. The second reason why these are impactful is because they address the real psychological needs that your team has. And that's appreciation, safety, respect, purpose, autonomy. They're not just activities, they're interventions designed around human psychology. They produce tangible results beyond team building. You get better communication, better innovation, problem solving, and ultimately better business outcomes. The team building is almost a side effect of doing meaningful work together. So I get it. Watching this, you're thinking, okay, this sounds great, but my team would never go for it. Again, start small. Pick one exercise, try it for a month, measure the results. The best team building doesn't feel like team building at all. It just feels like a better way to work. Now, I'll be interested. Which exercise are you going to try first? Let me know in the comments. If you found this to be helpful, hit the like button. And if it's really helpful, subscribe to the channel and send this video or this podcast to a friend or to a coworker to see what they think. Until next time, remember, culture isn't built in a day, but it is built daily.